Welcome to Diary of an Unemployed Actor with me, Milo Dennison. Each week, I speak with up-and-coming actors, actresses, and filmmakers about the entertainment industry. We discuss success, failure, and share a few tips to inspire those of you who have a passion for the creative arts. This week, I'm speaking with Vince Williams. So Vince actually started out his career as a dancer, receiving a scholarship in dance that led him into working on TV and choreography and other types of performing, physical theater and that kind of stuff, which led him into acting and doing a lot of children's entertainment and that kind of stuff. So he's managed to parlay that into traveling around the world. He's got some fun trips about one of his worldly excursions. And he has a podcast, so he's just a lot of fun to talk to. And what's interesting about this conversation with Vince as well is we actually chatted for quite a while after I stopped recording, so he was just a lot of fun to talk to. And so I think you'll enjoy this one. So as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Did you always want to be an actor? Because I know you studied in university theater. Is that right?
Yeah. The whole point was I was a dancer. I used to dance as a hobby. And then someone said to me that you could dance for a profession, which I was a bit like, what? Really? Okay. So then I applied for a place at a performing arts college. And at the time, because I didn't know much about it, I just applied for this college, not knowing it was one of the best colleges in the UK, Lane Theatre Arts. And so if I'd known that, I'd have probably been more nervous when I auditioned, because my audition wasn't great, I don't think. I'd never done a ballet class before, never done a tap class before, never sang, all those sort of things I just went in and did. The only thing I did have in my belt was I was a bit of a break dancer and popper and stuff at the time, so I used to do all that.
Really? So sorry, I got to interrupt you there. You actually did breakdancing?
Yeah. It was all the rage at the time in the 80s.
In the 80s,
You used to get your boom box out, get your box, open it out on the floor, and go in the street and try and earn some cash. That's what we started. And so I was doing that. And so when I went into the audition, I think I was the only auditionee that did that. Really, everyone else did ballet and did tap, and they've been dancing since they were like 5. So I was different. So I was lucky to get a place there. So I became a professional dancer from there. That was my thing at the time. I didn't really think about acting. I didn't think about anything else except dancing. That was my whole thing to start off with, that I just wanted to be a dancer. And I had a fantastic dance career and in the commercial dance sector. And it was just so much fun. I had the best time of my life, to be honest with you.
How like commercial dancing, is that doing a lot of like backup dancing? Is that like what because it's embarrassing to watch me dance. So what, like, how do you make a living as a dancer? Like, because I always just think of as like backup dancers when I think dancing, or like you mentioned, ballet, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, commercial dance as such is the backing dancing thing. That's one of the things you do behind some pop star or whatever. Yeah. But also it's also fashion shows. You do a lot of fashion shows, dance fashion shows. You know, you do like I did things like the ski show at Earls Court.
Sorry, a ski show?
Yeah. So basically the ski show is an event where people go to find out the latest ski equipment, the latest stuff, where they can book their holidays from. And it's a big exhibition, but they have a main stage, and they normally put fashion shows on there with all this new ski gear and stuff. And, you know, a lot of the time they have like a dance fashion show. So it's not just walking catwalk. You actually come on and you do dance and stuff, but in the full ski outfit.
Gear.
So it's a bit warm. You do lose a little bit of weight. I could probably do with that now, to be honest with you, the amount of weight I put on in lockdown. So you do that sort of thing, and then you do TV. So a lot of my work was with a lot of comedians at the time, when they would do each show they did on the TV, at the end they would do some sort of funny song. Like
a song and dance number kind of thing to end the show.
We used to be that. I mean, we've done things like, you know, for Hale and Pace and French and Saunders and people like that. Okay. And you'd just be one of the people that was dancing there. whether it was a main part or just in the background. But there was always work, and then there was tours, and there was obviously you could then do the theatre tours as well, and then pantomime at Christmas.
Do you still do much dance?
Not as much as I'd like to, because I still enjoy dance. I've had to dance a couple of times for auditions recently, so it helps being an older man now and being able to dance. That definitely helps, because then you can get a character dance rather than go full on dance. But I don't do as much as I used to. No,
okay.
To my regret.
Well, probably keeps you in like somewhat decent shape, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was dancing up until about 4 years ago, because I was still teaching bits and pieces. So, I kept my feet in as such.
Can you still break dance? Can you do the backspin thing? Where
I can do that. I can do the backspin and that. But I mean, I remember actually, it was a quite funny story. I was an Ents manager in a holiday place in Crete. And I was over there, and on the last party night, the last night, we were all having a big party, and this young boy started doing some break dancing. And so I thought, I can match this, I can do that. So I did the windmill, I did the backspins, I did the worm, I did all this sort of thing. And then I was like, and everyone was like, oh, that's really good. Oh, God, I couldn't believe you could do that. And I was like, no. Next morning, I couldn't walk, basically. I was paralyzed from the neck downwards for about 3 days. So I try not to do too much of that. I mean, literally break dancing, literally I was broke. Yeah. So
that's great. So how did that lead into acting then?
Well, you kind of, I suppose there's certain times in your experience in the entertainment world that you come to a junction. My thing from dance, my first thing was choreography. So I literally went from dancing to choreography. So I started then choreographing the dances for TV and for film and stuff. So I started that. And then when you're in that environment, you get more interested in all the other stuff, and the acting and all that sort of thing. And I remember looking at actors and that and going, well, I did some acting at college. Obviously, we had classes and stuff. But I'd never really thought of myself as an actor. So I was kind of like, I don't know, it's one of these things. So I started going for auditions. The first kind of auditions I did was contacts that I'd made through dance. So through choreography and through people who were in production and stuff like that, and directors that I'd worked with. I'd often just mention it, say, if you know anything, give us a shout, And a couple of things came through for a company called Ragdoll, which are the designers of Teletubbies and Rosie and Jim, all the kids stuff. And someone said, there's an audition for a new series. Well, it's an older series that's been revamped, and it was called Brum. And it was about a little car in Birmingham that used to go around like a little superhero car. And they wanted some actors to do main parts in the show most weeks and stuff. And so I went to the audition to that. And that was my first real acting audition. And the good thing for me, it was very much about a lot of movement and the way you moved your body. So that really helped with my dance experience. That helped me. And I got that. So I did that series, a couple of series of that.
Was there was there a lot of like a physical comedy in that then?
It was mostly physical comedy in it, because obviously there was no speaking parts in it. It was all narrated, and it was all, just visual comedy, which is a real passion of mine anyway. I love all that visual comedy stuff. Always have done. So to me, that was ideal. I did that, and that led on to some other work with Ragdoll, including like Twirlywoos, which is my latest one, which is still on CBeebies now. Which is
Twirlywoos.
I know it's mad, isn't it?
Okay, yeah. So
I mean, it's a children's program.
Yeah, because I know the channel CB. So for the U.S. audience, this is probably equivalent of maybe like a Nickelodeon, or like it's a mostly children's shows and stuff like that.
That's right. Yeah.
So sorry. Tell me about that one then.
So Twirlywoos is part animation and part real filming. Mm-hmm. So basically, the Twirlywoos come from an invented land, but they come into our world and they do things like some of the parts that I've sort of played is I could be putting up a billboard poster, and they sort of mess things up and it all comes out a little bit wrong, so they come into our world and mess about with it and try and teach the children something. I mean, that one was about rolling, so you're rolling the thing, so it's always an education within it. But they're good fun because, again, it's visual comedy, when you're doing stuff like that. And it's when you work with a company that you've worked with before and a lot of the people, it's really nice because it's like with acting, I feel that you do tend to work with a lot of the same people, same with dancing and that. You always come around to the same sort of people. So you become a little family.
Yeah.
So when you come back, it's like not seeing your family for a while. You kind of catch up with everybody, and it doesn't feel like work a lot of the time, to be fair, because you're enjoying what you do and you're enjoying everything else about it.
This is one of the things that I think is really important about actors and having those good work environments, because you mentioned that you got to go back and work with people that you worked with before, probably because they had worked with you in the past and they're like, okay, this guy does a good job. He's funny, he's good to work with, that kind of stuff. So then they're like, okay, let's call him up. Do you find that in the business where having that good working relationship really pays off?
Oh, for sure. I mean, the fact is, most of my work has come from word of mouth. It's my cat jumping in. Great, isn't it? Live podcast. Here we go.
Wait for it to walk across the screen.
Oh, he definitely will do that. He's sitting on my pad at the moment. But a lot of my, most I would say a majority of my work is word of mouth, where you've done a good job for someone. I remember like going back to choreographing. I was asked to choreograph Nativity 3, which is a film. And from that, the first AD there remembered me, and she was the first AD on Benidorm, a series over here. And again, that was then, they wanted a choreographer. She goes, I know this guy, I just work with him, blah, blah. And he works well with people and stuff. And the same with anything, all the acting stuff, especially with Ragdoll, every time they asked you back because they like to work with people. They know they can work. You do a good job. You're on time. You do all the things that you should be doing as an actor. You're doing it. Obviously you'll get, if you go, I would have always said, if you go in there and be nice, be pleasant, get the work done, know your lines, do all that, and you're not a problem to anybody. You're nice to everybody. If someone brings you a coffee, you say thank you. All those sort of things that are really small things sometimes that you'll work. Because people go, I remember him. Yeah, he was really nice to work with. Oh yeah, let's get him in. If it's between you and someone else who's not been like that, you're going to get the job every time, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's interesting, even sometimes little things, because films, as you know, it's a lot of just kind of sitting around time or, waiting for the, excuse me, waiting for the shot. You're talking to people and there's a couple of people just kind of standing there complaining about like the waiting around and stuff. And it's like, that's the business. That's you wait. So you just kind of sit, have a coffee and socialize or whatever. And just sometimes you don't know who you're talking to, right? So, maybe standing next to me was somebody important, or, maybe someday I'll be somebody important, like one of those kind of things. And they're just kind of complaining about the whole process. And it's like, it kind of leaves a bit of a negative attitude. And it's like, if you don't want to be here, then don't be here, kind of a stuff. And just simple little things like that as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's been times where I've worked with a runner on a show, and their runners basically come up to you and they ask you if you're okay, do you want some water or coffee or whatever, and and I got on with these runners. I always get on with everybody, so you get on with this person, and then 3 or 4 years down the line, I was doing I was doing extra work at the time. I was doing a bit of extra work, so I was background artist on something. And the director was this runner that I knew. And I was like, oh, hello. And he was like, oh, how are you? Blah, blah. And then they needed somebody to upgrade. So they had an upgrade on there for a few lines. Mm-hmm. And he turned to me and said, oh, do you want to do it? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. From that was just for the fact of being pleasant and nice, which doesn't take any effort at all. It shouldn't do.
And being memorable. I mean, the fact that he still remembered you a few years later as well.
Absolutely. And I mean, like you say, the amount of time you are standing around, if we got paid for standing around, we'd all be very rich, if you got paid per minute for standing around, because as you know, it takes a long time, especially within film and stuff. It takes a long time to set one shot up, and you could be standing around for ages, and you have to have that in your armory where you can just be pleasant and sit there and then just be ready to go. basically.
Absolutely. So you've done a lot of children's stuff. How do you find working with children? Because generally I find children to be a lot of fun to work with because they're not all in their heads like adults are. What's your experience working with a lot of children's stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's fun. They're very honest. Mm-hmm. They're very honest, which is what I like. If you do a bad take of something or you're not funny, if you're doing meant to be funny and you're not funny and they're not laughing, you know it's not that good. Because they're not. Work. Yeah, they're not going to just go, "Oh, that was really good." No, they're just going to go. They look at you like, "What are you doing? What is that?" And you think, "Oh, well, can I do a retake of that and try something different?" Because they're so honest. But yeah, I've always had, and I don't know what it is, but I've always had that thing where children kind of gravitate to me anyway. They kind of, because I think it's because you're genuine. I mean, if you're a genuine person and you don't treat them like, never treat them like children. That's the main thing. I never go, "Oh, how are you?" and talk down to them and all that sort of thing. I just have a laugh with them and try and make to be honest with you, if I always think if I was that age and someone came in and made my day a really good fun day, and I was doing something like that, I'd go, "I want to do this again. And I want to try and get better at it, at my craft." So I think you can encourage people by just being there and making sure that they know, actually, it is hard work, obviously, but it can be enjoyable.
You've written a comedy series, speaking of comedy. So what's the comedy series?
It's not out there at the moment, unfortunately. Uh-huh. I've written it and I'm tweaking it at the moment, actually. It's called Rehab. Mm-hmm. And it sort of touches on people's addictions. But as in anything else, I think if you've got a serious subject, you can always find humor in there. And there are some serious points in there, but there's also a lot of humor and stuff. But it is one of those things where you tend to rewrite quite a few times. Like I wrote it originally just as a TV pilot series and stuff. And worked on it then, but now you're looking at it and you're thinking, actually, it's got to change now because it could be the fact that I'm rewriting it for like a Zoom call. So these addictions, because people can't go to Alcoholic Anonymous at the moment, so what they'll do is they'll have a Zoom call. So I'm trying to redo it so that and try and get that out there. But I enjoy the process of writing, but with very little success. So.
Yeah, I think they say the process of writing is rewriting, So
absolutely.
Well,
I think you'll always find something new in there. That's the thing. When you're reading through it, you've written it and you've gone, "Oh, that's good." And you'll read through it and you'll go, "Well, actually, no, I need this." And then you'll go back on the computer and you'll start hammering the keys again. And then you'll find while you're doing that, you'll find something else to do with it. So.
Oh, see, mine is I usually find something else to do that prevents me from doing any writing or rewriting.
I've done that. There's plenty of that as well.
Yeah.
Don't get yourself a VR, whatever you do.
Oh, is that gonna destroy me?
It's been good in lockdown because it's taken a few hours out of my life, and also you can also go in there and be an actor, which is great. You can be fully immersed in some storyline in there, and you can actually act it out, which is it does keep you a little bit. At least I'm acting in some way when you're not getting the auditions or you're not working at the time.
Yeah, that's not bad. You also have a podcast, and it's called It's Actually Happening. Is that right?
It's actually happening.
So I tried to watch the preview of it on your YouTube channel, and it wanted me to do an age verification. So so is it like what's the podcast about? Because I apparently can't watch I'm going to click on it actually because it asks for to verify my age, and then it wants me to use a credit card or my ID that I have to submit an image of in order to verify my age.
Oh, do you know what? I don't know about that's quite interesting because I don't know about that.
Well, I thought you might have something. Google doesn't know my age. I probably never entered anything as an age verification at some point in time for Google. But it's funny. It's like, you can do it immediately.
People have to put their age in, because it's. Basically, the podcast is there's things happening in the world right now that are a bit weird, funny, bizarre, and basically myself and my co-host Chris. And we're very different. This is the nice part of the podcast. We're very different. We call it, he's more Downton Abbey, I'm more Waltham Abbey, because he's quite posh. He's got a different look on life. And he's a very Christian man. He goes to church and that, so he never swears. I've never heard him swearing all the time. I've known him, but I'm a bit the other way. If I swear, so that's why you have to verify your age, I think, because there is a few swear words on there now and again.
Okay.
But it's not based around that. Obviously, it's based around these weird stories and our take on these weird stories. And you can't write these things. This is the funny thing, it's stuff that's out there, which is actually happening. You can't. It's not someone's written that and you think, oh, that's funny. These are actually stories that people are going through. Whether it's stories about animals, whether it's a story about robots or whatever it is, we try and do about 4 stories each episode
on just kind of what's going on in life, like that you get from the news, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's all the latest, and we try and keep up to date as much as we can. So a lot of the stuff is about lockdown. Like a guy the other day that had a tattoo of Boris Johnson in the lockdown. He wanted that done, and there's another person that ordered stuff off. When you get a bit drunk in lockdown, a lot of people are getting a little bit drunker maybe, and they go online and they start ordering stuff, and they're ordering weird stuff coming through. Or a bloke who marries a sex doll. It can go. That's why I suppose there's an age limit on it, because some of the stories are something like that, which could be passed as that. But it's all really funny stuff, and we try and put a funny spin on it.
How long have you been doing that?
Not that long. We've been doing it. We started it last year. It started in the lockdown. You know what it's like in lockdown. Yep. Everybody's the same, especially actors and performers. You want to do something that's going to stimulate your brain while there's not a lot about. I mean, when we first go into lockdown, it really is the fact if there wasn't any work. No, I mean, still the theatres aren't open. Still the TV companies are really stripped back. The acting jobs are stripped back. Everybody's wet. And also there's acting jobs now when they are happening that people maybe wouldn't have gone for those parts because they thought, oh, I'm a bit better than that part, or it's not my sort of thing. Now the people are going for every part. So where you had, 20 people going for a part, you've now got 200 people going for the same part. So you do get that thing where if you're not working, you want to stimulate your brain, you want to activate. So I did some stupid things like, videos for YouTube on my YouTube channel. I did some videos of my lockdown day, just a bit of fun, and the podcast came from that, and it's really good because each week we do it. And I don't know, you know this because you're doing your podcast, but it comes around really quick. Yeah. It seems to come around really quick. You're going, oh, I've got a Sunday prep for recording on Wednesday, ready to go out on Friday, And so it does help you because it does take away some of that time where you're going, twiddling your thumbs and going, what am I going to be doing today? Yeah. Apart from eating.
Yeah. Sitting around eating and watching TV and playing video games.
Yeah.
One of the questions I like to ask people a lot too is how do you kind of keep the training and the mindset and kind of keep in that zone of being a performer and being an actor?
I think it's really important to do that because it's very easy. I've found this. I mean, I always liked my downtime. When I was working when I was through my dancing career, all the way through starting doing the acting stuff, whatever I was doing, I was always I've been very lucky with work, and I've always been working. I've been quite busy. So when I had downtime, it was fantastic. I just downtimed. Everything went down. I didn't do anything. I was like, right, relax. You need this space. Whereas now it's totally different because you've got the lockdown. So you start your downtime and you go, oh, what do I do in my downtime now? Because before it was downtime. Now it's like, instead of being a week off, it's now a month or 2 months off. So yeah, I think you've got to try and keep that mind going, keep that mindset. Now, I mean, the good thing is that there is more self-tapes and stuff now that there wouldn't be before. We have to, I mean, I've done quite a few self-tapes, which is a whole new thing with the audition, because the auditions used to be, you go there, you do your audition, you get a bit of feedback maybe, and then you'd come away with a self-tape. You just literally put it out there and it's, well, you just got to wait.
Yeah.
So trying to work on my self-tapes has been quite good because obviously I wasn't used to self-tapes. So working on that and making sure all my cameras in the right place, the lighting's right, all that sort of thing where some people might tend to forget that. You think to yourself, well, if I wanted to watch something, even if it's just a self-tape and an audition, I still want to see it and I want to hear it. So use a nice, good microphone, all that sort of thing. I've got a nice pin mic that I use when I do them and stuff like that, just to give the bit of clarity on the performance. So that's good because it meant, well, it's good in some ways, but I had to pay a lot of money out and get some equipment, not a good mic and like I say, nice pin mics and good lighting, all that sort of thing. I even got a green screen and stuff just in case I needed it at some point.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So there's all things like that. I think to myself, if I'm prepared, then I'm ready.
Yeah.
But yeah, the writing, like I said to you about the writing helps because that keeps you in the mindset. Also, time goes quicker. The podcast, all those sort of things, doing silly videos and trying to get things out there just to get your face out there and also for your own sanity to be doing stuff.
You mentioned you did a world tour. Was that as a dancer or what were you doing there?
It was a co-thing. It was, I'd also choreographed it and I was a dancer and it was for Vanessa May. Mm-hmm. Who I don't know if you know Vanessa May. She was very, very big in the 90s, in the early 2000s, and that she was a violinist, but she played rock on a violin and stuff like that. So it was a real concert. Even though she did it within her concert, she did do a couple of classical pieces. But there was two dancers, myself and another guy choreographed the show and the format. And they asked me, would you come on tour so we can keep it nice and tight and stuff? And I was like, yeah, of course I can. World tour. So I was lucky enough to travel all around the world with her and go to a lot of countries, see things I, maybe wouldn't see normally, and also experience TV in different countries and stuff like that. So I learned a lot on that and I just had a great time.
Any particular country kind of stand out as a surprise?
Do you know what? Korea was, it was weird actually in Korea because there was two identical buildings and the buildings, their theatres over there are fantastic. They're just the design of it. If you can think of all that sort of Oriental design with the dragons and heads and stuff like that, that's all how their theatres are when you walk in. But this one place we were at in Korea, there was two identical theatres opposite each other. Now, one theatre was a music hall. So that was for musicals and for people, musicians and concerts like that. And the other one was a dance hall. So that was for anything dance show wise. Now we were in the music hall because Vanessa is the violinist and it's the music and all that sort of thing. But when we started rehearsing there, the manager of the theatre came to us and said, "Oh, you can't dance." And I was like, "Well, that's your opinion, mate. I've been doing a good job of it so far." He said, no, you can't dance in here because this is, if you play an instrument, you can go in here. The dance hall is across the way. You have to dance over there. And I said, well, how's that going to work if we're over there dancing and the audience are here? And he said, well, we won't have you on the stage. And I was like, but it's part of the show. And he was going, no, we can't because it's just for music. This hall is just for music. So the manager of Vanessa at the time was her mum and very strong lady. And she said, okay, that's fine. And then said to us, look, we're doing one show here. At the end, the finale, just come out and just go for it. And we were like, I thought we're going to get arrested here. And is it a president or a prime minister of Korea?
Might be a prime minister. I don't know, honestly.
Anyway, he was watching the show because he was a big fan. Mm-hmm. So we thought to ourselves, look, we're going to go out there. We're probably going to get arrested in Korea, So we went out there and we did our thing. And we all was lining up afterwards and the prime minister came to see us and thank us all. And he asked us the question, why did you only dance in the finale? Why didn't I see you throughout the show? And we were like, well, we weren't allowed to because it's a concert hall, not a dance hall. And he went, well, that's stupid. And a law was changed there and then.
Wow.
They changed the law in Korea that it didn't matter if it was called a concert hall, you could do dance in it. So we did change a law, which was quite good.
Claim to fame.
Absolutely.
There you go. In Korea, if you're listening and you're wondering why now you can dance and play music in the same place.
You're welcome.
Okay. A couple more things I want to ask you about. So I watched a clip from, is it called Ready, Steady, Go? You were doing a hosting thing.
Oh, yes.
And so it seemed very energetic. So I'm curious for, people listening, how do you keep your energy up?
Well, it's one of those things that, I've done quite a bit of presenting and stuff, and I enjoy the presenting side and the hosting side. And obviously last year I was working for a company like a holiday park company. And they do streaming shows because they couldn't do any live shows because we weren't allowed to do the live shows in our little staging area. So they decided as a company to do a main place to have a live streaming shows. So when the people could come into the restaurants and the bars, and there's the TV monitors all around there, and they've got a big screen, obviously, in the courtyard and stuff, they could play these live shows. And we did them all live so that people could then text in and message in, and we would read them out and stuff like that. And so that was a really good experience in the fact of it was live, and all the shows themselves, there was so many different shows, but this show particular that I was involved in was this 60s Ready, Steady, Go. And they talked about it and they said, we want that energy there. We want that they didn't want it like, because the normal 60s show would have been the very BBC voice over man, hello there. But they wanted more energy and stuff. And I think that's my forte a lot of the time anyway, is I've got a lot of energy. And I feel that unless if whatever part you're playing, unless it depicts that you are lower or you are down there, I like to give that energy out, because I'm hoping that energy that I give on stage, especially in a streaming where it's a TV, where there's a camera, is trying to put that out onto your audience away from the camera. Because obviously in an auditorium, when you're live, people can feel that energy. They get the energy off the show. But with a TV show, you have to put more energy in that respect, just to put it out there so it comes through that you're, like you say, and hopefully it worked, because you said it looked quite energetic. So
it did.
Good.
Yeah, I watched it. I was like, wow, all right. Like, keep it up.
Yeah, I think, my presenting style is more that way anyway. Mm-hmm. Obviously, unless you're doing something that's quite solemn, you sort of bring it down a bit. But most of the time, it's about, I've done a lot of presenting on shows where they're doing competitions, like a dance competition, big dance competitions over here, and other singing competitions, stuff like that. So you kind of you're sort of X Factor type of host. So again, you want the energy there.
Yeah. How did you find that gig? Did you audition for it, or was it through somebody you knew?
Again, it was because I was working with the company anyway. And they've got their own theatre company that go and do these shows, and they do a lot of shows. But for this, the theatre company, for this particular show, they needed a different host. So they needed an actual host. And because they knew my background, they knew what I did, they asked me. They just asked me. I didn't have to audition. They just asked me if I wanted to do it. And because of lockdown and stuff like that, and you're not performing at all a lot of the time. So to perform, and we were doing it, I think, because you do 2 shows in one night. So you do one show, and then about 45 minutes later, you do the same show again live. And that would happen maybe once every 2 weeks. So, well, I'm going to be performing. So yeah, absolutely. I'll do it. I'll get in, any sort of performance. It's like, I was so looking forward to pantomime. I love doing pantomime at Christmas. I was so looking forward to it again this year, and and it's a new show and stuff like that. And you go, and then obviously what happened, theatres closing, it was devastating for everybody. And I thought, oh well, you first of all you go, oh well, it's Christmas off. I don't normally get Christmas off. I normally get just Christmas Day off, but now I'm going to have a whole Christmas off. That'll be lovely. It wasn't, because you just missed panto.
Yeah. It was a pretty quiet Christmas this year.
It was. So it's performing in anything, just you jump at the chance, really. And that's the same with me at the moment. Any sort of, things that come in that maybe it's not completely me, I might just go for it, because I think, well, I'm going to try and get something else to my armory, really,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely a good opportunity to try new stuff, because you might not be doing as much of what you normally do. So it's like, well, what about this? How will this, like you mentioned, starting a podcast. It's like, how will the podcast go? Maybe that'll be something fun and new that you can keep going, or you're more experienced doing auditions through self-tapes versus in person, that kind of stuff, getting that more experience. So, there's, I guess it's all in how you look at it, right? Like,
absolutely. We've all got to adapt. I mean, we're auditioning now on Zoom and stuff,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Which is great when you're sitting there auditioning for them, knowing that you're still wearing your pajamas underneath.
Yeah.
They can't see that bit. I mean, I'm completely naked from the waist down here, mate, at the moment. So.
A buddy of mine, I do another podcast called the 80s and 90s Uncensored, and it's with a buddy of mine. And it was funny. Our first episode we recorded, my friend, he shows up, literally in his boxer shorts and and stuff. And I'm like, dude, come on, like, at least put some pants on. Like,
Yeah, it's when you forget and turn up for a real audition. And you walk in and go, I forgot my pants.
Oh, even worse would be like you're expecting to sit down there, like, could you just kind of stand up and kind of so we can see the whole thing as you move around? And you'd be like, well, give me a minute and I'll slide off here and put some pants on and come back.
Yeah, and also you've also that thing now, like I said about my cat. You'll be doing something and the cat will just run across the screen and it's like
smash the keyboard and
turn it off completely.
All right. Well, last question. If people want to track you down, any of that social media, or I know you have a YouTube channel, like where would they find you?
Yeah, I'm on all the social medias really. Instagram, Facebook. Mind you, I use my Facebook more for friends and family and that stuff. My real main things are Instagram, Twitter, the YouTube channel. I've actually got onto a bit of TikTok. Been doing a bit of TikTok.
Oh, really? How's that going?
It's weird. It's weird, but it's the big platform at the moment. So I've put some stuff out there. The good thing is you can only do very, very short bits of video. So if you've got anything long, like I did a thing I filmed, which is on my YouTube channel, which is, my day in lockdown, which is, and I've done another thing with We Are Family, where I've done different various parts and they're all meant to be my brothers and that. So you can edit those down to little bits and pieces and give them a bit of a tease and hopefully direct them to where your better stuff is, on YouTube and stuff. But yeah, I mean, social media is a weird platform anyway. The fact of it's hard because especially at my age, I feel, that it's a young person's game to a lot of the stuff with the social media and the TikTok. But I thought, well, listen, get involved because you never know who's gonna look at something and then go, actually, and get in touch. So if you do, get in touch. But I try and it's hard because self-promotion is quite hard anyway.
Yeah.
And like I said, with now, I mean, with my agents, I've been getting lots of stuff coming through. And you get very close at the moment, penciled for a couple of things, and you're getting very close all the time. And the one thing that I've always done in my career, and I was talking to my partner about this, is the fact that no matter how long you go without work, you just don't give up. Because it's so easy to give up, especially nowadays with what's happening. You kind of go, well, we all need to earn, so we need to go and get other jobs while this is happening, because the government aren't really helping us that much. But still don't give up on what you want to do, because that's, for me, is like, I can go for the rest of my life and not get another job, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to stop trying. But it's definitely hard at the moment, really hard at the moment for everybody. I do feel for everybody out there, all the actors out there that are going through the same thing. I've got so many friends, especially my West End friends, people in West End musicals and stuff over here in the UK is, they just don't know when they're going to open. And then I saw a program the other day, the Masked Singer, and they had audience in there, and I was a bit like, how have you got a live audience in your show? And they're all in groups and they've got masks on. And I'm going, well, what's the difference with that? We're going in groups and masks on in theatres. Yeah. So why can't we, I don't know. There's certain things that make sense and certain things that don't make sense at the moment, with our industry.
Yeah, it's a tough industry to be in at the moment. But like you said, vaccines are rolling out, infection rates are going down. So hopefully...
Well, that's the good thing of being my age. I'll be the next lot. Here we go.
Good for you. All right. Well, it was fantastic talking to you. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Been brilliant talking to you, mate. Thanks very much.